When I was probably 9 or 10 years old, I had decided I was either going to be a preacher or a lawyer. A lot of people think that's a contrast, but I think both of them serve people. And so by the time I got to high school, I had just decided that practicing law was something I wanted to do. So it was something I wanted to do from early on.
You know, I came from very humble beginnings. My family was at the poverty level, and I worked my way through school. And the fact that Texas Tech was a state school and allowed us, tuition was $64 a semester. And that we got outstanding professors for that investment. And then they pushed us to, you know, you had to perform or you got out. And I've been grateful for the standards that they imposed upon us, and passed the bar the first time, took the bar, didn't take the bar review course. The education that I got at Tech really pushed me through to start my career. And I just thought that that was, you know, really a lifetime gift, getting a quality education at an affordable price and from really, really high quality people.
The training I got here and the background I got here, as well as the friendships that I've developed, I think has had a big impact on me and my career. One professor in particular, actually I do talk to him on occasion, Bill Mattea. He was my trial ad professor, and he provided lots of influence on how I litigate.
At law school being so small, but I think even though it was and is small, relatively speaking, professors really went out of their way to be accessible to students. And I think that made a big impact on me anyway, in terms of realizing that that's something, that mentoring aspect is something that we as lawyers need to do with younger lawyers, and as well as serving in the community.
Well, David Cummins, I had him for tax, and he was very good. He was very good about that you've got to get to the underlying issues that you're dealing with, and not necessarily just coming up with the technical law. You've got to know the facts, and most, over and over and over again, with young lawyers from some of the best law schools in the country, they want to tell you how smart they are about the law, and that really doesn't matter if you don't have the facts. Mm-hmm. You've got to get the facts right, and you've got to get through the facts to decide what you have to do.
When I started, we were still in the barracks and across from Jones Stadium, and it was the rainiest year ever, and so we would have to walk from the parking lot across a big street to get to the barracks, and we were always just drenched by the time we got there. You know, our feet were wet, our legs were wet, and everything. And there was this professor, Schol, that was, he scared all of us. He did criminal law and procedure and stuff like that. And he would walk in and he'd be totally dry. And, you know, so the rumor was that even God was afraid of Schol and wouldn't rain on him.
I remember Dave Cummins taught professional responsibility, and I started my career as a public defender, being assigned to people. And I had a guy who had pled guilty and was going to be sentenced that morning. And this was before we had metal detectors at the courthouse, but he took off his jacket and his windbreaker and handed it to me in the courtroom. They called our case, and on the way up to speak to the judge, he hands me his jacket. And it went down to the floor because there was something in his pocket. Knowing that he was going to prison that day, he had decided to bring, I didn't look, but I have a suspicion there was something metal that fired bullets in that jacket. But we had been taught that in professional responsibility, how to deal with that situation and what our professional responsibilities are. And, you know, as a first-year lawyer coming across a potentially felony-based situation like that, I was grateful for the education that I got here.
Tech law made me the person that I am today, really. It was a major factor in my formation. It gave me a voice. I mean, back when I was in school, women were not really encouraged to be leaders and to speak out. And I learned that I had a voice, and I learned that I could be persuasive, and I learned how to form my opinions and to be an advocate. And so it really formed me.
You know, our degree and the value of our degree really depends upon not only our performance, but the performance of the graduates coming out. And so the reality is that costs money to educate law students. And so being able to give back both in terms of time and money, I think is pretty important to make that degree valuable.
But the students that come to Texas Tech are hardworking, direct. I don't get a sense of entitlement. I get a sense of I want to be a part of the process, I want to participate, and I want to go forward. And I don't necessarily see that in other law students that I see and compete against, law graduates that I compete against around the community.
I worked with Gardere Wynne for many years, and we have a number of Tech grads. And I'm always proud to see the Tech lawyers come through, law students come through and interview. I know they're going to do a good job. And we've had some very successful lawyers from Tech, which doesn't surprise me because I knew it was a great law school.
Once you come out here and see it and have a chance to walk through the halls, I think that's what sells the school and gives the desire, because people think in Dallas, it's like Lubbock. Why would I want to go to Lubbock? Come out here and take a look at it, and that's what it sells itself.
I think it's part of it, the West Texas approach at Tech really gets you ready to deal with people and to realize and to recognize things that people are doing. And I think it goes back to like President George Bush, when he used to say, when he wanted to meet real Americans, he went to Lubbock. Yeah, I think that's still true. I think Lubbock's great, West Texas is great, and Texas Tech has a lot of those people there. And dealing with people is what matters. Being the genius of all geniuses in real estate law isn't really what's going to make your career work. It's meeting people and getting along with people, and that's a big thing at Texas Tech.